back to What She Said on Canada Talks, Sirius XM 167.
And welcome back indeed in studio. I'm Christine Bentley with Kate Wheeler, and we have a guest with us, Lauren Friese. Now, you're going to want to listen to this, and I'll tell you why. Because we all know someone. Maybe it's your children, maybe it's your grandchildren, your friends' children, your neighbors' children, somebody who's young, who's graduating or graduated, who's looking for a job and having a real tough time. So Lauren Friese, welcome, and you were that person back in 2008, and what happened?
Yeah, so thanks for having me. I was definitely that person in 2008. Actually, the story goes back to 2005. I was graduating from Queen's University, and I had studied economics, and I had absolutely no idea what I was going to do next. I thought that was really, really strange because you go through all of these various levels of education, and then you get to the end, and there's just kind of nothing. And that experience really is what ended up inspiring TalentEgg. There was a trip to Europe. There was a year of studying abroad. There was some inspiration found abroad, and then I moved back and started TalentEgg to try to help future groups of students have an easier time transitioning from school to work.
Well, it used to be that, as I understood it, that at universities at the end of the year, there would be companies like lined up to recruit university students, but that doesn't happen so much anymore, does it?
It does happen at certain schools for certain types of students, but it doesn't happen at the end of the year. So that's a really big misunderstanding in the world of entry level and sort of internship employment. It actually happens in September. So coming up in the next few weeks, employers are getting ready right now to go to top campuses, quote unquote top campuses, across the country, set up booths, set up info sessions, and try to recruit students and recent grads. The crazy part is that very few students actually know about that. And the crazier part, to me, is that the employers that go are really end up at a lot of the same schools in the same towns trying to recruit the same students. So there's a huge group of students that are kind of left out of the process.
So what are you trying to do to change all that?
Well, I mean, TalentEgg, the best way to describe TalentEgg is like, or one way to describe TalentEgg is like a career fair that is open, online, accessible, coast to coast, 24/7 throughout the year, so that students can come whenever it makes sense for them, learn about different career paths, find employers that offer meaningful career opportunities, and actually apply to jobs. The other side of what we do is try to raise awareness of what is actually happening on campus and the various events and resources that students can use when they hit the ground in September to try to help them, I guess, better prepare for the inevitable transition that they're facing, that transition from school and into the workplace, or even from school into summer employment, as is the case for the majority of people that are still in school.
So you basically provide the marketplace for all those jobs or those recruiters. You basically hook up the people who want a job or want an internship or want skills or want with people who are offering it.
Yeah, it's like a one-stop shop online for figuring out what it is you want to do, figuring out what employers offer meaningful opportunities in that field, actually applying for jobs, getting the resources that you need to apply for jobs, and then applying and hopefully being successful in that process. I mean, if you go to TalentEgg.ca, that's where it is, you would see lots of listings of, again, meaningful entry-level and student jobs, as well as thousands of articles and career guides and all sorts of other things. So it's all online, all accessible. And again, that idea, and it comes from my passion of being, an arts grad, not necessarily the number one target for an employer that's actively recruiting on campus.
I believe it's above journalism, though.
That's an interesting one, actually, too. But that it comes from my passion of creating that accessibility and leveling the playing field for smart students, for ambitious students across the country, regardless of where they chose to school, regardless of what they studied, giving them that platform to really help them stand out or stand alongside some of the more obvious types of students and recent grads.
So, Lauren, we're not going to go by that. That's an interesting one. Let's go back to the journalism comment.
Sure. I mean, a lot of young people choose to study journalism, and it is one of those. We always say that students who are lucky enough to, at the age of 17, have some understanding of what it is they want to do, they can choose to study something that leads to a career. And in the case of that being business or engineering, they're in a really good position. It's fairly, there are lots of employers that are looking for students that have studied business or engineering. Journalism is one of those ones where even let's say a decade, 2 decades ago, there were a lot more meaningful ways to start your career in journalism that led to paid employment. It's a lot more challenging now. And I think the really smart young people that go to journalism school, because it's not easy to get in, and that graduate from those types of programs, end up figuring out a way to apply the skills that they've learned in those programs to a variety of careers, and not just to journalism, where opportunities are becoming more limited, or at least traditional opportunities are becoming more limited. But I think that entire industry is, as you would know, is changing.
Changing, big time.
Yeah.
But one of the ways that people did do that was via internships. Yeah. Now, obviously, we've been hearing more and more, and the official internship programs are ending at many places. What's your take on that?
I think that in the long run, unpaid internships is a huge topic that I've been asked to comment on a lot of times, and I actually try not to comment on it because it's one of those really tricky things where today, the big bust that was done at some of the magazines and the resulting end of a lot of internship program is creating a lot of short-term pain. There are a lot of students who were supposed to be in programs this summer who no longer have those opportunities. The way that our sort of the school to work transition has been set up today, unpaid internships were one of those bridges that helped young people transition from school into the workplace. Whether they were moral or legal or not is a whole other question that I'm not going to address, but it was one of the bridges that existed to help young people transition from school into the workplace, and it no longer exists. It's going to take a long time for the other bridge, which is paid employment or other forms of getting experience, to widen so that enough students can make it through. If you see the school world as one island and the work world as another island, essentially the bridge has been shrunken with. A bridge has been removed without the other bridge being widened. Does that analogy work?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because we have discussed this at great length because we have a lot of people that would like to come, and we don't believe in not paying them anything unless it's part of their 100 hours or whatever it is, part of their course. Then we're happy to oblige, but. It's really hard when you have no experience at anything to get a summer job.
Yeah.
But that's the catch-22. You need the experience to get the job. So now if we've lost one bridge, to stick with your analogy, what road do you recommend taking?
Well, I think that the biggest thing, and in the interest that you mentioned that 100 hours of work, work experience that you need to get as part of a program, to me that's even worse because what it means is that opportunities to get relevant experience are now only available to those who have chosen at the age of 16, 17 that they want to go into a specific program that offers one of those things, and everybody else. So let's say somebody who decided to study politics or sociology or something like that is interested in journalism, they no longer have the opportunity because it's not, they haven't chosen the right school. They didn't make that fateful decision when they were a child. So that to me is a problematic one, and you're paying to work really rather than just not being paid to work. One of the things that we're doing at TalentEgg, we've really been thinking about this. I've been asked about unpaid internship. I've been doing this for 6 years now, and it's been one of those topics that has been, in and out, and right now really in. And so one of the things that we launched at TalentEgg is this platform called TalentEgg Challenges, and essentially it allows students to take part in sort of these little micro competitions where they apply work-like skills. They're almost like case study competitions where students can apply skills they've learned in school to the types of things that are relevant in the workplace. So like marketing challenges or social media challenges or a sales challenge or a finance challenge or whatever it is.
So pick one and describe how it works.
Sure. So the one that we did at the end of last school year was for Purelator. It was a Purelator sponsored challenge, and what they said was help us or come up with an interesting strategy for us to increase our visibility on social media. And that challenge addressed different areas: consulting, analysis, marketing, student were able to submit anything. They could submit, a marketing plan. They could submit a video, something visual, whatever it was. A Purelator judged them, and there were prizes for the top 3 people. Who, including
Was one of the
person.
prizes a job?
One of them was a job,
Yeah.
actually, a paid internship, and we've checked in with them since, and that's going really well for the person that they selected through it. But for everybody else that participated, they received a feedback report that said, this is how you did in terms of your analysis skills. This is how you did on marketing, and this is how you did on whatever the various skills required were. And they can now put that on their resume and say, look, I have some experience in marketing. I scored in the top 10th percentile in marketing or analysis or whatever. And that helps them prove to an employer that they have the skills to start a job. I could go on about this.
No,
Well, do.
keep going. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fascinating. So when would somebody, at what stage, if you're looking at 4-year university degree, what stage would you recommend starting to take those recruitment challenges and learn?
Well, I think not just challenges. I think any opportunity to demonstrate that you have a demonstrated interest, passion, and aptitude for a certain skill. Take that opportunity whenever you possibly can throughout your experience at school. And it's more important for students who are in programs that aren't necessarily you don't become a sociologist or some people do, but very few people do after you finish your sociology degree
Or an anthropologist.
Yeah, exactly. So it's more important for those students, but it's also important for business students. There's a misunderstanding out there, this kind of this myth that all business students know what they want to do. It's not true. And taking part in anything that sort of helps you get an understanding of what it is you're good at, what you're bad at, and helps you ultimately build up that record of success is going to help you stand out when it comes time to find a job.
All right. So, Lauren, we are going to head into a break. We're going to come back on the other side of the break here at What She Said and talk more about TalentEgg and some of the best practices for students, particularly as mine enters McGill for the first year. Maybe she should be starting right away in business and economics, and it's a mess. Who knows what they want to do at this stage, right?
Yeah.
We will be right back here at What She Said. Stay with us on Canada Talks.
Well, I almost hate to say this, but I think when they start out working now,
Yeah,
it's almost like a paid internship because they don't make enough. They still have to live at home.
I know.
Well,
Hey,
my niece
Matthew,
left Queen's University with like a top honors from Queen's in economics.
Yeah.
Gets a job through my connections at the Royal Bank, and you start at Lynn's daughter. You start at under 30,000.
Well, Matthew,
Yes,
a real estate
just
developer,
a tiny-
42 files,
Yeah.
working 80, 90 hours a week,
Oh,
and had to live at
sorry.
home with me. Making,
Yeah.
making multi-million